spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. More specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. This episode today is about faith in each position group. So we get 100 chips, if you will, and we get to distribute them amongst the various positions. The positions are as follows. We've got, of course, offensive line, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, running back. We got special teams. That's 6. And then we've got linebackers, defensive line, and we've just grouped DBs together, but we may parse that into corners and safeties as we talk about it. So we have 100 chips, and we would love to know from you guys how you would distribute that. So we're going to give you our answer to that, and then we got the comment mailbag, as we always do. Still waiting for training camp to get started for the Commanders. And we're going to go ahead and begin the episode. But before we do, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're 6 away from 1,000 here, okay? Just 6 away. So we would thoroughly appreciate it. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do. Please answer this question. And K-Dot.
It's time. It's time. It's time to share this shit. Share this shit. Share this shit, guys.
Share this shit, please. We greatly appreciate it.
Not as much energy as I wanted on that.
As always, but you're also battling the cold.
Yeah, but I mean, I wanted to do a whole thing. I actually kind of wrote like a speech sort of thing because we were talking about the movie The Warriors last week, and I wanted because you still haven't seen it because you're a terrorist. Is the it's just very un-American, dude. Very un-American.
To not have seen The Warriors.
But it was like Cyrus' speak. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Do you know? Have you never heard that before?
No.
God damn it!
But we make it work anyway. We can talk more about it after the pod. And
share this shit, assholes.
How I need to improve as a person. But why don't we just go ahead and get into the purpose of
Coaches, Ajax. None of it means anything to you.
Well, so in the comment mailbag, there is a reference to Coaches. And so I did. Yeah, there is. Okay. So just a bit of a preview on the comment mailbag over there.
Y'all understand. Y'all get me. I love y'all.
Yeah. Exactly. They're going to continue to get you in the comment mailbag, but we got to begin, K-Dot, with this exercise, right? Which is we have 100 faith chips is what we're calling them. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you have to distribute them amongst the various groups that I named earlier, the 9 of those groups. So we got 3 on defense, we've got 5 on offense, and we got the special teams. So I don't exactly know the best approach for doing this, K-Dot, in terms of like, should we go back and forth? Should you do the highest one, my highest one? But the floor is yours. However you would like to begin, we will flow accordingly.
I think we should go by position groups.
Okay.
Starting with how they usually go in Madden, right? So like quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, O-line, D-line, linebackers, DB, special teams.
That sounds good.
And we can go back and forth on where it is we have the chips and then have an overall holistic conversation and argue about why you put chips where you did, because I'm sure you got it wrong because you didn't see the Warriors, and I'm questioning everything you've ever done.
Of course. All right, fine. Why don't we go ahead and begin that way? So, beginning with the quarterback, K-Dot.
Yes.
Out of 100 chips.
Yes.
Okay. And so this is going to be Marcus Mariota. This is going to be Jaden Daniels, of course.
I got you covered, buddy.
Look at this. Always on point. We got Sam Hartman, the heartthrob. I'm sure you can play that clip at some point. And we've got Jeff Driscoll. All right. Mm-hmm. Of course, this was centered much more around Jaden because we project him to be the day one starter. I have given 12 chips to the quarterback.
I have given 7 chips to the quarterback position.
Okay.
I think it's just one of those things where it's like, I haven't seen you play. So if we're looking at the quarterback room as a whole, going back to this, Jaden Daniels, I've seen play at college. Don't know. Jeff Driscoll, I don't know when the last time. I can't remember watching Jeff Driscoll tape. Sam Hartman, he's seen better days than what happened in Notre Dame. And
he's doing fine enough.
He's doing great. And did you see that fish he caught?
Yeah, huge.
And then Marcus Mariota, the last tape that I legit have of Mariota wasn't great. So, like, if I'm looking at that, I'm going based off the faith I have in Jaden. So, yeah, just because I haven't seen it yet, and we're looking at faith chips, 7.
Right. And the definition of faith, right, when we really think about it is, yeah, I haven't seen him play, but I believe, right? Jaden Daniels is, to me, the best quarterback in the draft. I think that will end up becoming the case as the games are played. Everything we've heard so far, KDOT, has been nothing but good. And it seems like he's learning, he's practicing for the practices. Like, so based on what I'm hearing so far, based on what the media is saying, that's why I've given 12 right now. So there is definitely some hype around it. I thought initially 12. First I had it at 15 and I was like, all right, that's insane.
Yeah, that's insane.
And then I dropped it to like 8 and I was like, that feels too low. So I ended up with 12 because I do think Jaden's going to have a really good year. I do. Any other thoughts on the quarterbacks before we move to tight end?
I am singing Limp Bizkit's version of George Michael's Faith in my head right now.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Gotta have faith, faith, faith.
How many do you have on the tight ends?
How many are we doing tight ends next?
Yeah. Or were we supposed to do running backs? Was that me?
We said running back, but hey, whatever order. Tight ends. I like it. Tight ends. These are the tight ends. I am giving them a grand total of chips of 8, which means I'm a little more confident in them than I might be as far as the quarterback position, just because, like I said, I have negative taste in my mouth as far as some of the quarterbacks that I've seen play in the NFL, right? But like from a tight end standpoint, you guys know how I feel about the Senator. And Zach Ertz, I just think is a good piece for the Cliff Kingsbury offense. And I love what he doing as far as leadership. Armani Rogers and John Bates, I actually think that like when I've seen them play, when they've been healthy enough to play, Armani, as far as taking the top off of a defense sometimes, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan.
I like that. I gave them 9 chips. So I'm basically in line with you. I really like Ben Sinnott out of the draft. This is centered around Zach Ertz. Apologies for my voice today. This is centered around Zach Ertz for me. Playing in a Cliff Kingsbury offense, being able to help the other guys out. I do think that then helps having that coach on the field, if you will, during training camp and then throughout the season. I fully expect the tight ends to be quite good because, again, knows Cliff Kingsbury's offense. And I think Ben Sinnott, the Senator, as we call him over here, I think he's going to be very good as well. I think there's still this excitement around the draft, excitement around Adam Peters. Feels like you see the profile of player and it was very clearly targeted towards leaders, towards captains, towards people that, you know, love the game. Like we don't have any questions about any of the other stuff like we have in the past. Was that a reach, stuff like that? I know your feelings on the draft, but that's why I've given a 9 to the tight ends over there. Would you like to go to wide receivers or running backs next?
Up to you, bud. We're just going to, it's your world. I'm living in it.
Let's go wide receivers. Go ahead. I'm going to mute so I can cough.
I'm coughing and I ain't fucking moved. Wide receivers.
Yeah.
This is the unit I like quite a bit.
Yep.
I like these guys. They have my second most chips as far as any unit on the team. And I've given them, I'm looking back at my numbers, 18 chips.
Wow.
I mean, 18 chips go to this particular unit. I mean, like, if you look at it, we already know what we got in some of these dudes. Terry McLaurin, he's a dog. Jahan Dotson, I think we're both on the same page, and we think he can get back to what it is, more along the lines of what he looked like his rookie season or the beginning of last season. Mm-hmm. I still think Jamison Crowder, in what limited run I saw him get last year, looked pretty damn good from that slot position. And then I am so high on Luke McCaffrey. I just think that particular unit, I I just felt like they didn't really get the best chance they could have gotten last year with what it is that was happening.
Yeah.
And I think any offense coordinator could get these dudes more involved than what it is they were involved last year, as far as just getting them in a rhythm, at least.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's mainly on the back of Terry McLaurin, but yeah, that unit to me is just, it's solidified.
So this one was a bit interesting to me because I love Terry, and then they are called fade chips, and I use that in favor of the quarterback. I don't know how Jahan's going to do. I feel he's going to do well, but I do begin to wonder if this is going, if the tight ends are actually going to do a little bit more. That being said, I do have more chips on the wide receivers than the tight ends, but I have it at an 11 instead of an 18.
Everything's really close.
Yeah. It took it took some thinking. It was a very deep K-Dot saw the process. Very, very deep, thought-provoking process here. So I've got 11 on the wide receivers. Terry's the primary driver of that. I think Luke's going to be good, but again, we haven't seen him play, so I recognize the double standard with what I just did there. But Jahan also drives this a little bit for me, and I like Jamison Crowder. I'm curious to see what his role is in the offense. Well, yeah, punt returner, but will he get some snaps, on offense? Yeah. Because what he did last year, I mean, he was pretty solid. And of course, I don't know what's going to happen with De'Ami Brown. I don't know what's going to happen with Olamide Zaccheaus. Like, we'll see what happens with those guys. Thanks. And let's see. I'm trying to think if anybody else. I mean, Demir Bird's maybe done a little bit. Mitchell Tinsley, I'm not expecting anything from, though. Penn State guy, shout out. Yeah, I mean, again, this is very much a Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson thing for me. And if Luke McCaffrey can be very good, I'm very, very pleased, K-Dot. That's where I'm at.
I've got no doubts about Luke.
That's exciting. How exciting is that to just have a wide receiver that we drafted and you're like, he's going to be good. Round 3, pick 100. That's sweet.
Yes. I'm then reminded that as far as white wide receivers, I remember back in middle school how high I was on Matt Jones. Arkansas.
Oh my God. The guy who played quarterback, you were high on him?
For Jacksonville. I remember being young and stupid and listening to someone go, he played quarterback. So that means he knows the wide receiver position, knows the quarterback. And then he was like a freak athletically, like what the 40 time he ran and how big he was.
Wasn't he like 6'6" or something like that? He was really tall.
But then he just couldn't get in line. And I think he had some legal issues. Some other shit just went bad for him.
Yeah. We go on to the running back. So just to quickly recap so far.
Yeah.
At quarterback, I've got 12.
I've got
7. At tight end, I've got 9 to K-Dot's 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And at wide receiver, I've got 11 to K-Dot's 18.
18.
Okay. So that's the biggest disparity so far.
Yes.
We now go to the running backs. K-Dot, go ahead.
Yes. So the running backs. This is also a unit that I feel pretty good about. It's just a matter of like how it is that they're going to be schemed or what the offense themselves look like. But I think that there's enough talent in this room right here to make shit happen. Mm-hmm. Brian Robinson, we've seen what he can do with a full load. And then Austin Eckler, I don't know. Did you see the Tiki Barber comments?
Yeah, I did.
Fucking prick ass.
But no one likes Tiki. We've talked about Tiki on this show.
That hoe.
Yeah.
Hoe. I feel just good about the running back unit, but once again, I'm not sure exactly how they'll be utilized, but I do think the combination we have between Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson is a better 1-2 combo than it was Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. Mm-hmm. Just because I think Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson are basically the same player. I don't think Gibson understood how big he was.
Which was always crazy. We would keep talking about it because like the measurables are they're identical, right next to each other. But Brian Robinson played so much bigger than Antonio Gibson. To your point.
It's just Gibson was like avoiding contact a lot, and it was just like okay. But yeah, I'll give this unit 10 chips. I feel better about them than I do, let's say, the uncertainty at necessarily tight end or the uncertainty at quarterback. But it's also going to be very, very dependent on what's happening within the scheme of the offense. The other part of it that we haven't gotten to yet is looking at the offensive coaches that they got. The name that always like screams out to me is Anthony Lynn.
Yep.
And that guy being the run game coordinator for us now. I just think that they're going to perform.
Yeah, and so you've led perfectly into my point, which is that the number of chips I've given the running backs is very, very Anthony Lynn driven,
Mhm.
as well as knowing the type of professional that Austin Eckler is. So Austin Eckler, for those, I'm sure all of you are familiar, but like this man's a touchdown machine. He's known as like pound for pound, like the strongest guy in the league, and his work ethic's unreal. And if you hear any number of the interviews that he did in the past couple of weeks, he immediately jumps off the screen for you, where you go, okay, this guy like is so focused on, he's got this like fight or flight mentality, and he's always fighting. It's an amazing mindset to have, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what you want out of your football team and football players. He has it. This is, to me, the best 1-2 punch we've had in a long, long time.
Mhm.
You included with Jaden. I think it's exciting. I've got 16 chips on them. Okay.
Ooh.
So I feel very good about Brian Robinson when he started receiving more last season. He was very dangerous out of the backfield, already ran quite well. And I have zero concerns about Austin Eckler. I think it was quite clear that he was hurt last season. And so we get him at a discount, in my opinion. I'm happy with this. I think the running backs are really good. And Anthony Lynn always schemes up really, really good run lanes. I don't know. I think 16 for me, and that's my floor. I was honestly thinking it would be
Mhm.
even higher. I just had chips to give on defense, and so I couldn't afford to give more here. But that's what I have. I'm very high on the running backs. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think the Austin Eckler piece to me was that yes, the injury last year was absolutely playing a factor in everything. Um, it's just every time I see a running back get injured, I'm in that I need to see you play
Yeah.
before I'm going to give you anything. Because there were moments last year where it's like you looking at the highlight and it's like, is he just walking really fast?
Mhm.
Like it got ugly. But yeah, being able to protect the amount of carries that he has and knowing that if there is a bell cow on the in the running back room, it's mostly Brian Robinson more than it's Eckler and what he can do from a receiving standpoint. Yeah, I just hopefully they use him like the Swiss Army knife he could be.
Yeah, and I think they will. And that's where we get into like Cliff Kingsbury and what he does. And so what you think of him as a head coach can be totally different from what you think of him as an offensive coordinator. Because
No,
when
no
people
doubt.
talk about Cliff, the play designer, the play caller, they love him, right? So there's faith for me in that respect as well.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and also, I think James Conner had a really, really nice year in Arizona. Like he would get a lot of carries. He would be able to get out of the backfield and get some receptions. So again,
Mhm.
16 for the running backs. K-Dot has 10 there. Wrapping up the offense, let's go to the offensive line. K-Dot, go ahead.
This unit is tied for the least amount of chips for me. So I'm giving them 6 chips, which I know sounds crazy. It's like, oh, that's only one less chip than you gave the quarterback. But I think for me is that this is also one of those units where it's clearly just a wait and see for me. I think we've talked about the offensive line a lot this offseason in the sense that I don't think they're nearly as bad as what got shown or what people think coming out of last year. I just don't. That being said, there's still a lot of question marks there for it, right? And if we're looking also from an offensive coaching staff standpoint, if I'm looking at of this list of people who might, some of them you don't really know, but there are some people on this list that you do know, be it Bobby Johnson, and I got to tell you, as far as the units of the people that got brought in, he's probably the person I have the least amount of faith in. If I'm looking at just what have you done for me lately, and
Right.
trust me, New York Giants fans will not seize an opportunity to let you know exactly how it is they feel about him. So, yeah, it's just one of those. I just think anything will do better than what happened last year. I like Brandon Coleman. I like a lot of these guys a lot more than other people do.
Yeah.
I just got to see it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. I have 4 on the offensive
Wow.
line. It's
Okay.
also a wait and see situation. I think when it comes to offensive line, chemistry is very, very important to me, and
Yeah.
cohesion. I don't know how quickly that comes together. I mean, I am excited that we brought in Tyler Biadasz from the Dallas Cowboys. I am excited about Nick Allegretti from the Kansas City Chiefs. Drafting Brandon Coleman, of course, to hopefully be the left tackle of the present and future, but for now it's Cornelius Lucas. Sam Cosmi, I do not have questions about. Feel good about him, and I believe Andrew Wiley is probably going to be the projected right tackle as of now. Looking at the depth, who knows? maybe we got some guys, but we will probably find out if we do or don't, because there are always injuries on the offensive line. But because there are a lot of question marks, and to your point about Bobby Johnson, and this is not meant to roast in any way, but relative to the other coaches that we brought in, the most questions are around Bobby Johnson, to be totally honest. So that's why I ended up with 4. Okay. Chips over there. So to recap the offense, we will go quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver, just for kicks. I'm going all over the place here. I have 12 on the quarterback, 16 on the running back, 9 on the tight end, 11 on the wide receiver, and 4 on the offensive line. KDOT has 7 on the quarterback, 10 on the running backs, 8 on the tight ends, 18 on the wide receivers, 6 on the offensive line. KDOT, if I'm tallying you up real quick on offense, that is 49 chips. Am I correct? I believe 13, 21, 39. Yeah, 49 chips on offense to my 62, which feels really weird. Just going to be totally honest with that. Feels really, really weird to have that much faith on the offense, but we'll see. Defense or special teams? Where do you want to go next?
So you're 62. I'm 49.
Yeah, that's correct.
I'm feeling better about the sex.
You should be.
You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. The moment I do that, I'm like, okay, well, there's still another side of the ball that we're going to.
Pretty good.
Well, how many did you put on special teams?
All right, fuck it. Let's go to special teams. I have a grand total of another 10 points, just like I gave the running backs. And the reason being, we know what Tressway is capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's given. I don't know. I like Ahmed, but I mean, got to see him kick throughout a season.
Yep.
And I don't know anything about fucking Tyler Ott. So, and also from I think Jamison Crowder, I guess it looks like he'd be punt and return, but I'm not sure because it looks like they've been putting fours back there. Okay, I need to know a little bit more going in as far as what they're going to do special teams wise. But even if Tressway does everything that he's been doing, we still haven't won a lot of games. So so it's like, and it's not his fault. He shows up, he does what he needs to do. But I think that if I knew more about the kicker, if I could have seen more of the kicker in NFL situations,
right,
then I would have put the more chips in. But these 10 chips are pretty much just Tressway chips.
Okay, that's fair. I also have 10 on special teams, so we line up perfectly over there. I'm not going to have to repeat anything because I completely agree with what you said. It's Tressway driven. Let's see what happens with the kicker. I do like the Larry Izzo hire.
Love Larry Izzo.
Right. So there is some of that in there as well. And there's John Glenn, assistant special teams coach. And so I, to be honest, don't know as much about him, but I like Larry Izzo a whole lot. And I do know Tressway is a baller. Jamison Crowder, the decent punt returner, and Jeremy Reeves, he's good on special teams. So I think we've got some guys. In special teams, and I think it should be even better than last year. So that puts me at a total of, oh no, maybe I did do the math wrong. I might have done 110 chips. Oh, right. Oh, no, I didn't. I'm good. I have 52 chips on offense. Ha! I feel better now. Including special teams, I have 62. That's why I was wondering. I was like, holy shit, dude. That'd be terrible. Now I'm feeling way better. Here we go. Let's go to the defense. So we go to the defensive line.
I'm going to predict you're gonna have to revise that again shortly because you're going to look at the math and be like, oh, hang on.
No, okay, you know what? Fuck it. I'm doing the math right now. Hold on. So 4 plus 12, 16. This is elite podcasting right here. 16 plus 9.
And everybody, he's the nerd. 36. I'm not the nerd. I don't know anything about math. When they put letters 52. And numbers together.
I got 52 on offense. I got 52 on offense. You got 49. Including special teams is 62. I feel better now.
Well, let me ask you this, just before we get into the defense.
Sure.
Are you more confident as a whole if I just ask you in the offense and the defense?
Yeah, I know. Well, so I was thinking about that when I had a little bit more on the offense. Listen.
I know you love Jaden.
I love Jaden. I might love Joe Whitt more. It's very, very tricky because I do think we have a lot of talent on defense.
So you did fuck it up.
I don't know that. I don't know that. As I continue walking through this with you, with the people, we will figure out if I fucked it up. Okay, let's go to the D line. All right,
D line.
Why don't I go ahead and get started on this one? To me, K-Dot, this is a fun group. This is a very, very fun group. So, of course, we have the mainstays at defensive tackle with Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. Both have been paid. And then we drafted Johnny Newton in the second round, projected to be a first rounder. So people thought we got a lot of value out of that. We got Phil Mathis, for those that remember that we have him, just because he's dealt with injuries and stuff like that. But then we also picked up some edge rushers in Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell, Dante Fowler, etc. You name it. So I have, K-Dot, 18 chips on the defensive line. I'm very, very high on the defensive line because I think we have depth and I think we are able to rotate and be able to get after the quarterback and get some push on the interior, especially if Johnny Newton is what we think he's going to be. So I've got 18 chips on the defensive line.
Good points. I just don't know if I like agreeing with you. So defensive line, this is the unit that I have the most points going towards, and I gave them 20. And the thing was, it fluctuated a bit. At some points when I first started doing this exercise, they started at 30 chips because it's the one unit that I'm probably the least worried about than any other unit. If you look at the depth that they have as far as the defensive line, and then you take a look at the coaching staff, and you see the dudes, and you see these names that kind of come around, the defensive line and what it is they've been able to do in their respective previous stints anywhere else, you can see that they've always gotten a lot of production there from them. Yeah, trust me. Part of me is always going to look at this and be like, "Hey, I'd love to see what a Montez Sweater or Chase Young will look
I
like."
know, yeah, sure.
But you look at the upside of certain guys, and the thing is, his name is not on the list because this is not where he is. But there's a good chance by the end of the season we're looking at Jamin Davis is more of a defensive lineman than we are a linebacker.
Well, that gets interesting.
Right. So it's like, to me, it's just that to me is it's just the unit that I'm like, I'm good. I'm not worried about what it is they're doing. Because I think that the only thing that has really held them back the last few years has been inconsistency and not being on the same page. And I don't have an issue with, I think this coaching staff will be able to solve that.
Okay. Yep. That's fair. And I originally had 20 on the D line until I realized I had fewer faith chips than I thought. So 2018, I think we're pretty aligned. I think we're pretty aligned on that one. Linebackers. Go ahead.
Linebackers are the third most plentiful chip group for me, and I'm giving them 15. I think when you see like some of the lists that are coming out naming Washington's linebacker crew the best in the league, I think that's dope. I believe it at least to some degree. The Bobby Wagner, you know what you're getting. You just know it. You got it. Outside of Bobby Wagner, I love the Frankie Louvu pick. Might be my favorite offseason free agency move.
He's a heat-seeking missile, man, and he seems to play in control. Like, it's cool. Yeah, I think
I'd give them more chips if I went to training camp or went to one of the OTAs and saw Jordan McGee play. I've heard about what it is that he's been doing or flashing out. And also because of what they're doing with Davis. If they're having Davis sit back there in coverage or something, I'm feeling a little less good about it. Yeah. But this unit to me has just a lot of upside. Even with Wagner and what he's looking at from an age standpoint, that unit to me just seems like they're going to be a lot of fun playing. But I also look at linebackers and say they're dependent on the defensive line playing great. You know how I feel about them. Yep. But from a coverage standpoint, we'll get into one of the other units in a second. But linebacker, I feel good about it.
Okay, cool. So you got 20 on the defensive line, 15 on the linebackers. I have 18 on the defensive line, and I have 14 on the linebackers. So right now, at least on the defensive side of things, we're seeing it pretty similarly.
Yeah.
So same reasoning. Bobby Wagner, the ultimate professional. Jamin Davis, I think you and I both have high hopes for. I'm curious to see how they choose to use him. You talked about Matt Jones being like, this freak wide receiver that, yes, it didn't work out. Jamin Davis, I think, has shown more flashes than that and had a better year last year relative to the one prior. And so I see him continuing to ascend. I love that defensive coaching staff that you threw on the screen there. Like it's loaded, in my opinion. So when I look at the coaches on the defensive side of the ball, way fewer questions. Not to say that I have many questions on the offensive side, but relatively speaking, I feel really, really good about that coaching staff and feel like they are going to get the most out of these guys. So Jamin Davis, Bobby Wagner, love Frankie Louvu, like you said. And I want to say Jordan McGee was one of those caucus picks. You remember when Adam Peters talked about that in San Francisco in the later rounds? He allows the scouts to vouch for somebody. I believe Jordan McGee was one of those. And if I remember from the Commanders vlog, they were pretty fired up. So, you know, we'll see. That is a purely faith on Jordan McGee. He could end up making some plays this year. So I've got 14 on the linebackers over there, K-Dot. So finally, we end with the defensive backs. You can break this into corner safeties if you'd really like to. I just was like, hey, let's put these together just because, you know, people move quite a bit in that backfield. Sometimes they're playing corner. Sometimes they're back in safety. Like, you know, so we'll see what Joe Witt wants to do. But that is, I wouldn't say your depth chart, but just the list of players that you have at corner, the list of players you have at safety. So K-Dot, go ahead. The final position group, how many chips?
Yeah, tied for last place with the offensive line. Oops, shit, wrong card. Here we go. Tied for last place with the offensive line is the secondary at 6 points. It's 6 chips. Now, here's the thing. I wanted to put this position group even lower than the offensive line. The only reason it didn't do that is, once again, looking back at the defensive coaching staff and what it is that they've been able to do. So it's these faith chips are mainly just a direct response to, I think this coaching staff would be able to get the best out of this potential unit, which would be a lot better than what we saw last year. That being said, I still am not sure at all where it is that they'll all end up. I love certain guys as far as the defensive backfield. I'll tell you who I love. Give me a second.
Yeah, take your time.
Not him. Mike Sanders still. I love him.
0 snaps. Yeah.
I love him. Quan Martin. I like Jeremy Chen a lot. And Reeves.
You're making your point. You're making your point, K-Dot. And so, you know what? I want to say, first off, congratulations on adding up to 100. And secondly, really glad we started with the offense, because the defense, we have been basically lockstep. I've got 6. I've got 6 on the defensive backs for a lot of the same reasons you do. Last year was very scarring. Let's just be real. There were so many blown coverages. There were so many wide open players that apparently maybe wasn't even a blown coverage. It's what we wanted to give up, and it made no sense. So that was scary to me. And I think a lot of confidence got knocked, not just from the fans, but from the players as well. When you think about Emmanuel Forbes, for example, and who was he on with? Was it Joey Porter Jr.? That's the thing that you keep citing, right? And he just takes it. And it's just like, man, from a corner, you don't want that, right? So like it's that is such a confidence-driven position. And of course, shit ton of technique and shit ton of talent needed. But like, it also needs confidence. And so until they show me confidence, I don't have much in it. I will say this. I have more chips just by 2 than the offensive line, but it is also my second lowest position group. They can be good. I do actually think they can be good because, again, this is a Joe Witt. This is a Jason Simmons set of chips right here. Okay. I think they can end up being good. I would love a Stephon Gilmore signing. I've been saying it over and over and over and over. I think that would help. I think that would help with the confidence. So we'll see. But I've got 6 right there. So to conclude, K-Dot has 41 chips on defense to his 49 on offense. I have 38 chips on defense to 52 on offense. Quickly running through it. 6 on the DBs for both of us. 14 to his 15 at linebacker. 18 to his 20 on the defensive line. At quarterback, my 12 to his 7. Tight end, my 9 to his 8. Wide receiver, my 11 to his 18. My 16 on running back to his 10. And then on offensive line, my 4 to his 6, special teams 10 each. And that is going to conclude the Faith Chips exercise. Kadon, how do you think you did?
Better than you.
All righty. Let's go ahead and go to the comment mailbag as we always do. I think I did just fine, as it turns out. I think you did pretty well.
Comment mailbag time, motherfuckers. The district divided, ain't got time for no suckers. Spread the word, get in line. OGs and new G's, it's your time. And spread the gospel, cause this shit is divine. Yeah.
Shout out AI Nikki for that one. Appreciate it. It's pretty good, right? We have, let's see, how many comments do we have today? I'm also worried about this comment mailbag considering Big Hoffman already. 21.
Ooh.
All right, we got 21 comments and this much water left, so we'll see how this goes. Beginning with, hold on, let's see, who do we want to begin with today? Maybe, I feel like I always do it the same way, where I just take the very first one. I was thinking about going out of order. Nah. Okay, we'll begin with Doug Furr over here. Shout out Doug Furr 5217 with a couple comments to begin. Okay. What is pissing off some of us Commanders fan is not just about Ayuk. And once again, this is a Brandon Ayuk situation update. And if we became owners effective immediately, what would we do? Okay, of the Washington Commanders. So that's the context here. So once again, Doug Furr. What is pissing off some of us Commanders fans is not just about Ayuk. It boils down to seeing players like Bakhtiari, Williams, Gilmore, and more available that would go a long way toward fixing some of the biggest issues. Now look at BA, top 10 wide receiver, better than Terry. Sorry, love you still. But the best blocking wide receiver that makes other wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, and quarterback better. It leaves us fans with the feeling of Harris, Adam Peters, and Dan Quinn are content with a mediocre 6 to 8 win season and claim it was better than the last few years. While statistically correct, we see all those possibilities that are being ignored or at least not addressed. Even if Coleman pans out, no evidence of that, having Pro Bowl players added will do exactly what they have done everywhere else on this roster. It seems we are squandering year one when opponents do not know what to expect from an entirely revamped team. Give Jaden Daniels everything that can be given to give him a better chance. With all the ifs, left tackle, corner, wide receiver, etc., why is the biggest if not addressed? Keeping Jaden Daniels upright. If Jaden Daniels gets hurt due to poor O-line this year, fans will never forgive the front office and owner. And that's the first comment from Doug Furr. K-Dot, your reaction to it.
I don't understand how you can. I guess I get some of the frustration. I just don't think it's accurate or wise to be frustrated by what we're seeing in this offseason. I think that, like, if you want to do it this way, as far as looking at the position, do you think they need to upgrade? I mean, we just did the faith chips exercise, and we saw that, like, the offensive line, we have it lower. We would like to have more faith chips in that than we do it. We'd like to see it more spread out across the board. But I've not been there to see what these dudes are doing in OTAs. I don't know what the coaching staff has in store for what it is that's happening offensively. I can tell you that I can look at plenty of years over the Dan Snyder era and see him being extremely aggressive in free agency or extremely aggressive bringing in certain guys. And what the fuck did that get us? So, like, the idea that they're having a more holistic approach to what it is they're doing, that they're not just running to sign anyone at any given fucking point in time, speaks to maybe there's a plan that you and I are just not necessarily seeing completely. But I think that the idea that we want to see them being more aggressive just for the sake of them being more aggressive because they've got to do what they need to do to put a team around Jaden Daniels, it sounds performative to me. Mm-hmm. It sounds very, very performative to me. Like, I can look at the Houston Texans last year. How many big fucking free agent signings did they do that I remember off rip? And you see the 1 year difference that they fucking made. Like, there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat. And even if we're looking back at our history, I don't blame RG3's injury on a terrible O-line. I like that's not what that's not where that injury to me
Correct.
came from. So I think that to me, all it sounds like is worry. And I'm sorry. I think that this new regime is truly doing something different, and I'm not worried.
I think what we've seen this new regime prioritize is leadership first and foremost, right? I mean, both within themselves and their coaching staff, along with their draft picks, as an example. Also taking the center from Dallas, bringing him over. I think that makes a lot of sense. A lot of communication at that position. This is an opportunity for the younger guys to be able to mold the identity of the team. And I do think that there is potentially a problem bringing in too many veterans that would be on 1-year deals and then they all disappear, for example, next season. So you want to be able to balance the two things out of having your Bobby Wagners, your Austin Eckler's, your Zach Ertz's. And I think we can add 1 or 2 more. Like, that's why I want Stephon Gilmore over here. But you also want to be able to balance that with giving Jordan McGee his time, maybe Brandon Coleman his time, right? Johnny Newton, those guys, right, on cheaper deals also that are going to be here for a long time, so that when next year's locker room rolls around, they're all here, right? So I think that they're doing that balancing act financially. The team is in a healthy position from a cap space perspective. They can make moves next offseason based on what they're doing this offseason and what they do this season. So I have no complaints of how things are going right now. Stephon Gilmore is merely a wish. It would be great. But if it doesn't happen, I'm totally fine. You know, that's where I'm at, K-Dot.
Only move I'd make is Bakhtiari, and that's clearly just because I think beer drink could bring this team together.
Yeah, and we have talked about that ad nauseum, in fact, in the past couple episodes. We go over to Doug Furr again with his second comment of the day. The last confirmed offer was pre-draft, and this was something that you and I had mentioned, K-Dot. The last confirmed offer was pre-draft, and the 49ers wanted our number 2 overall. Nothing has been stated by either team since. For Brandon Ayuk, I would offer Dotson or Brown plus a second rounder. He is that good. But we need to get left tackle and cornerback improved over BA. I think we should bring in Bakhtiari, Williams, and Gilmore. If and only if Johnny Newton looks to be good to go, would I trade one of our defensive linemen. But that would recoup the second rounder spent for BA. Bottom line is everyone knows we still need to get better talent. Question: if we found a way to trade for BA and convince Bakhtiari to join, would that make players like Gilmore more likely to see us as a possible postseason contender? It's an interesting question. K-Dot, go ahead.
I think that's more framed to you because I don't buy the whole Stephon Gilmore narrative.
Sure.
Look, man, I'm just sensing this pessimism.
The scars show. The scars show.
The scars, yeah, man. It's, I don't know, man. I got too much faith, and there are too many young guys. You see the turnover on this particular team. I'm completely cool with this being more of a, I want to evaluate. I want to see where we're at. I want to see that if we do make some free agency moves, it's not paying for dues that we've seen them be the best they're ever going to be in the league. At the best time is behind them, and they're maybe not the best leaders on the team or whatever. There are too many young dudes I just need to see play. Like when I hear Stephon Gilmore in the secondary, I'm hearing a lot less time that you have like guys like Emmanuel Forbes are out there potentially playing. Like I just want them to evaluate. We're 1 year in. We're not even gonna get. We're going into our first year. They have a ton of salary cap space, and it's a lot better to know where it is the team is, so that when they are in a place to spend the money necessarily potentially next year, they're spending in the right places.
Yeah,
not throwing shit at a wall and then regretting it 2 or 3 years ago that, oh shit, we overpaid for this dude, and now it's not giving you some flexibility. We need to go get this guy.
So we picked up a couple things over here in Doug's comment, which is one, very, very high on Brandon Ayuk, and I think rightfully so. Like Brandon Ayuk is, I won't say polarizing, but like, again, that top 10 wide receiver conversation you have with any fan can go any number of ways. But this would suggest he's definitely top 10 to Doug Furr over here. To address the question, if we found a way to trade for Brandon Ayuk and convince David Bakhtiari to join, would that make players like Gilmore more likely to see us as possible postseason contenders? Yes, I think it would. I think if they ended up seeing an aggressive Washington Commanders front office and they could see other people joining that project, if you will, then yeah, I could see that. But does it necessarily make it the right destination for them? I don't know about that because that is sticking a lot of new people. We've already got, to K-Dot's point, the most roster turnover in 80 years, right? So like all you're doing is adding even more of that. And the point we made earlier with the offensive line is it takes time for that unit to gel, let alone the entire unit to gel. So I think there would be a lot more attractive options to those guys in terms of possible postseason contender. But I think adding those guys, sure, they could probably go. That's a front office that's going for it. If I could be there for a couple of years, I think we could do something special year 2. But I think that's how they would look at it, not like we're winning a Super Bowl this year. If I'm a Stephon Gilmore and I see Ayuk and Bakhtiari join, I don't think I'd see it as like we're winning it this year. That's what
I would not know.
Yeah. But I think maybe it becomes a little more attractive, but I don't think by much. So that's how I'd answer that, Doug. But we'll see. I mean, again, training camp's going to start, I believe it's July 18th and July 23rd. 18th might be the rookies and 23rd. I need to double check the dates.
There's not a single guy that they could add to this roster. You know, there are 2 guys in the entire league that they could add to this roster would completely significantly change the way or the outlook of what that is that I think the team would be. And that's Patrick Mahomes and Michael Parsons. If it's not one of those 2 dudes, it doesn't move the needle that much for me. I still think you're in a pure evaluating year.
I don't know that Michael Parsons does it, to be honest. Mahomes, of course.
I do with the rest of that defensive line and who the coaching staff is.
Okay.
Along with the Jamin Davis and Parsons with a Bobby Wagner and a Frankie Louvu being able to kind of go
and
anywhere.
We get to talk about his podcast and his comments every week, so there's also that.
I'm looking less forward to that.
There you go. Yeah. So there's also that aspect of it. We could talk more about it in a moment. Let's go over to New G, Allison Lombard. Shout out. You have weakness at tackle, wide receiver, and at corner. I love the Ayuk and Bakhtiari picks. So Allison giving a nod to you on David Bakhtiari there, K-Dot, and also agreeing with us on where the weaknesses are in this roster. There are a couple more, so I'm just going to continue. Quality AV, K-Dot. It's another comment from Allison Lombard, New G. Gilly, Stephon Gilmore, might have dead legs, but he's a massive value add from a leadership and experience perspective, which is where I'm coming from, at least in what I'm thinking with Stephon Gilmore. I'm not necessarily expecting him to be CB1, but I do think that bringing him over here helps speed up the development and confidence of the younger guys. And he can, of course, occasionally play some meaningful snaps as well. I think he's still got some in the tank, but maybe like 20 snaps a game or something. I'm fine with that. So that's another comment from Allison. Let's see. There are 2 more. Yeah, Kelly Green is my favorite color, but I also have a fetish for excellence, especially excellence in the front office. This is in reference to the Boston Celtics hanging banner number 18. Let's talk about the Eagles figuring out the color scheme and maybe her being an Austin FC fan, but it looks like there's a fetish for excellence, especially excellence in the front office, K-Dot.
Yuck.
We got one last one here, which is a question at the end. If you got the name Warriors, would you bring back the native iconography?
No. I just think there's no sense in changing the name, even though the name itself was egregious to a lot of people. It was really far out there. While I look at the logo and say it looks very iconic and stoic and it seems respectful, I just don't want to go down that road if it's going to be something that we need to change because there's a controversy in a few years. I like to rather get ahead of it. I think that if you were going to do it, then working with certain tribes, working with certain groups to try to figure out what it is that they'd like to see. And the more that I hear, at least over the years from them, is that just fucking stop. Not to mention, I just don't trust the fans. I still see things from Chiefs games, and I'm like, that's okay to do. And look, rest in peace, my guy, love him, Chief Z. Shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And I would agree with you. I think the way that it's been, right, and all it's gone through in the past, I don't think reopening that door is a good idea.
No.
That's just where I'm at as well. So I agree with you there, K-Dot. Shout out Allison Lombard for all those comments. Greatly appreciate them. We go over to Hermit Rob. Shout out Hermit Rob, who's also very, very regular commenter over here at District Divided. Wanderers. I had mentioned Washington Wanderers, perhaps. Wanderers, like wandering around looking for the football, the end zone, our helmets. Look, all these names that make sense to one person will, without fail, be hated by everyone else. The idea is to keep our history and legacy alive. The only name that the overwhelming majority will accept is the burgundy and gold in the tradition of the Crimson Tide or the Fighting Irish or the Fighting Illini. It's been our unofficial nickname for 60 years, for God's sake. Burgundy and gold has been. Besides being the most unique name in football, we keep all our history, tradition, and trophy legitimacy. It's a no-brainer. Mind-blowing that people want the Redskins name back, yet come up with names that have precisely nothing to do with our history. Danny Boy could have changed it to the burgundy and gold years ago and avoided all this, but couldn't even get that right. I do agree with K-Dot that the Warriors is not bad. At the very least, it connects us to our legacy as well. I could stomach it. And that's the comment from Hermit Rob, who I think makes a good point about the burgundy and gold being a very, very significant part of this franchise, and then centering the name around that, whether it is straight up the burgundy and gold or something that can tie itself to the legacy. I think that's a good comment, K-Dot.
Yeah, I get it. We didn't do something. I want to play something. We didn't do our countdown, right?
Oh yeah.
But I want you to take a look at something. Tell me what color jersey this is. Is that burgundy?
That is a white jersey.
Is that but the red? That feels like red and yellow.
That's just red. Yeah, that's ketchup and mustard right there.
It's ketchup and mustard. So, yeah. When I look back through a lot of the stuff that we had, I get the name, but I also think that like a lot of times we just weren't burgundy and gold.
It's fair.
Just call it what it is. And I'm actually, I don't know. That's Warriors is still it for me, or Red Wolves, or Red. I still liked Red Tails, even though people were talking shit.
Red Tails historically, I thought was very cool.
I still think the worst name is Wanderers, though. I don't know what the fuck you were thinking.
That's just my soccer team name. I just figured I'd throw it out there a little bit.
Why is it your soccer team name?
We'll get into that another time. Okay. We go over to Anthony A, I believe, just Anthony A. Shout out Anthony A. The Washington Natives with the Indian back on the helmets. That's comment number 1. And so we'll package these together. And the second one. That's what have me pissed about the name change. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the whole problem? It's the name Redskins was the problem. So why did they get rid of the logo? And so those are the 2 comments from Anthony A. K. Your take. You had chuckled at the first one.
I had chuckled at the first one. Keep the Indian. Jesus Christ.
I'm right here. No,
right. Which is the most American. Columbus is the most American thing ever. You land in the wrong continent. Yeah, I made it to India. We're clearly not Indians, sir. Fuck that. You're Indians.
You are now.
You are now to me. I'm wrong, but you're not changing. I will tell you, Natives was when I used to play Madden and be on franchise mode, and when I would change the uniforms for the Washington, I used to call us the Washington Natives, or the DC Natives. I used to change I used to relocate the team or do something.
Really?
Huh. Okay. It was a lot easier sell for me for us to get rid of the name. I think my position on it changed a little earlier than most.
Okay.
And I thought that I thought that if we could get rid of the logo and go back to the spear, I thought it was a more interchangeable, hey, spears can be from everywhere sort of thing. It's just a warrior sort of thing. So I mean, if you could do it where you're not pointing out or singling out any one thing or any one person, or you're not doing without it feeling as though you're turning somebody or something important into a caricature, which is what most mascots are. Plus, I just think we can think outside the box. I'm not married to anything because like I can still go back and watch my old Redskins clips and still know. But Lord knows I was 2 years old when we last won a fucking Super Bowl. I don't remember it, and I'm good with us creating our own fucking legacy as long as the name's not really stupid like Wanderers.
Okay, cool. We'll get there. We go over to and my answer is largely the same. Like I want to at this point avoid going back to this native. Like we did it. There was some pushback. Okay, I don't think it's then. You don't be sick. Fuck you guys. We're back. Like I just doesn't like it. Just doesn't jive with me. Let's move on. Let's create. It'll still be a part of the prior legacy. Anyway, we go over to Clarence Thomas. Shout out Clarence Thomas. The shirts on the seats will be in the style of the Velcro safety vest for one size fits all. Oh, love that. Shout out Clarence Thomas. So, of course, we were talking about having shirts on each seat for the home opener in the new stadium that was funded by us because we have so much money. And we dunk on Ted Leonsis, of course, and the learners. And we would have these shirts, but K-Dot was saying, hey, there are going to be some people that just don't fit in the shirts.
Yep.
What about them? Clarence Thomas is coming up with the gold right there. What are your thoughts, K-Dot?
I was doing some rearranging my closet and stuff. I bought a new dresser, and I realized there are like 4 or 5 Washington shirts over the years that just don't fit because they were free shirts I got at different places. Like a We Want Dallas t-shirt. There's tons of shirts big up, and it's like XL. I'm like, fuck you. That's what Pittsburgh has it on lock. The terrible tiles is just a great fucking idea. It's like, here's a thing you can have. It's cheap as shit. You can use it immediately. And we got to worry about one size fits all or any of that crap.
So if we were to do something that's like not a shirt in that case, but let's not do the towel either because Pittsburgh's already got
glass bottles.
It was a terrible idea.
Clink, clink, clink. I know you don't get the reference.
Those.
You don't get the reference. I get it.
Matter.
People that do get the reference, it's fucking awesome.
Well, we do get a Cochise.
Or I guess you can do it with metal bottles. You just need to have the whole thing.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Glass bottles these days, no chance. No chance.
I'm still for them.
All right, well, I know you are. We go over to Slim Sleazy. Shout out Slim Sleazy. 2720 mark. Warriors with a silhouette of Cochise as the logo, feathers, and a tight afro. How you feel about that one, K-Dot?
See, this is my tribe. They understand. They get it. That'd be fucking dope. Nowhere to run. Yeah.
All right, so you are cool with that.
I can dig it.
Okay. We go over to Cody Rind, 7950. Shout out Cody Rind. And shout out again Slim Sleazy for making K-Dot happy today. Hey guys, huge fan of the show, and I very much appreciate how unfiltered y'all are. See, people love the unfiltered stuff, K-Dot. I appreciate that.
Like a son of a bitch.
I agree with K-Dot. Yeah, way to double down on that. I agree with K-Dot on the new team being the Warriors. I think it would be lit if they had that name and would rock the spear with the feather on the helmets like they did in the 60s. What are your thoughts on that? Let's pause there. What are your thoughts on that, K-Dot?
I think that if we could do enough polling that it didn't offend, I'm all for it. That to me would be the perfect combo. That to me is perfection right there.
Yeah.
The even if you got to get rid of the feather because maybe the feather means too much, so it's just a spear. I'm good with it. And
those were some dope helmets.
They were, and now I'm thinking we should give away spears, like foam spears.
Foam spear is a good idea.
Foam spears.
That's interesting.
Fucking cool.
Foam spears at the opener, and everyone like holds them up or something. I mean, there's something there. I think that's interesting. It's safe. Okay. I think we might be onto something. Also, I would hold out on any trade for Brandon Ayuk. I'm interested in seeing what Jahan and Luke are with this new coaching staff. Given that Luke has only been a wide receiver going on his 3rd year, right? So as a reminder to people, Luke McCaffrey was not always playing wide receivers. Pretty new to it, pretty damn good at it already, okay? He's still not even close to his ceiling. I think it's worth it to see how this year pans out and saving draft capital. I get it. This day and age is a must-win culture year by year, but we will never build anything with that mindset. They need time to build camaraderie, and that's hard to do in just a single offseason with this much moving parts. He's starting to speak our language here. It's not like the NBA where one player can completely take over a game or you can make a super team and win the whole damn thing right away. There's 11 motherfuckers on the field and everyone has a big part. It's like one big fucking orchestra. I know our fan base is craving any bit of success with this team. And believe me, as a 31-year-old that has witnessed pure shit my whole life, I'm wanting that now also. But Rome wasn't built in a day. And with the amount of turnover we have had, it's worth giving this staff a chance to see how the players and the coaches' schemes mesh this year, then adjust and make moves accordingly. I'm excited for this year, but the best expectation I have for us is no expectations. I just want us to be competitive, but I am also going to be patient with this new staff. P.S. K-Dot, those graphics are fucking amazing. Please keep making them. And that is the comment from Cody Rim, which is honestly my favorite of the day because I think it echoes a lot of what I feel I've been saying. I think it echoes a lot of what you feel you've been saying, K-Dot. He absolutely crushed it. The orchestra bit to me, I thought was really cool. Makes a lot of sense. Tons of motherfuckers in an orchestra, and you can't just put one guy in and all of a sudden it's the best orchestra of all time. Like, I think it's a really, really good comment, K-Dot.
Shit. If we're giving that a score, that is 4.5 Jess Santos out of 5 right there, man. Like I want to give you a little bit of room to always get better, but yeah, everything I'm feeling, there you go.
Yep. And speaking of, here comes Jess Santo. Shout out. If I owned the team, I'd be petty as shit. I'd have a fuck Snyder day. I'd rent out all the porta-johns in the cities of our division rivals on days of home games. I'd rent out all of the hotels in DC when they travel to play us at home. I think the band and music is being criminally underutilized. I'd have them playing all kinds of different songs. When Deron Payne gets a sack, have them play Bring the Pain. Have them play Halloween music whenever McLaurin makes a big play. I'm actually beginning to really dig this. They could do cool halftime shows like I see college teams do. Only 2 teams in the league have bands. Use that shit. I actually started watching Commanders' YouTube channels during the name change. I was trying to get a pulse on the fan base during the whole ordeal. The Red Spears project nailed the uniforms better than anyone else. As far as the name Red Wolves, there were some pretty good designs. The best being the circled R logo with the wolf howling at the moon inside of it. The feathers were replaced by a wolf's tail. My top 3 names were number 1, Warriors. Number 2, Renegades. Number 3, Regulators. The sad part is Snyder owned the rights to Washington Warriors for years and let the trademark expire. What a moron. That mailbag video is epic. Share this shit with the emojis as always. And that's the comment from Jess Anto. K-Dot, your reaction.
Wonderful as always. I agree mostly with it. Yeah, all good. I think that I love the ideas as far as being petty or what. You're right as far as the band name, and you're right that we could do a whole hell of a lot more to get the fans really involved in shit. Get the band involved in shit. I love the Fox Snyder Day. I love the idea of running up all the porta potties, the hotel rooms. Those are all dope ideas. I was wondering if we were the Wanderers, do you give everybody a compass? Is that what happens?
I think that'd be pretty sweet, actually. Not a bad idea.
It's terrible. That's such a bad name.
It is a great name because you go around wandering, wrecking teams in the NFL. Sort of the idea behind it. Just wander. Oh, there's a football game. Boom. Smoke them. Back.
Lack of purpose.
Yeah. No, there's that aspect too, but that represents the existential crisis of man. Right? So there's a whole lot going on with that name. You know what? This is lending itself to an after the pod. Thank you guys for listening. This was District Divided, DC Sports Podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And if you liked it, please like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Again, we're just 6 away from 1,000. Hit the notification bell. Comment as you always do. Would love to see how you rank your chip exercise. We'll read those out in the comment mailbag. And K-Dot.
You got to do it, man. We're 6 away from hitting 1,000 subscribers, and we get there. We get there. If you're doing what you're supposed to do and sharing this shit. Share it.
This shit. Guys, we are so close. This would be really awesome. It'd be a milestone for us. And it would be a milestone for you guys too, because you've been a part of the District family for quite some time now. So we thoroughly appreciate you guys and can't wait for next week. We're getting that much closer to training camp. kicking off. We're getting some actual content coming up besides the stuff that we're making up on the fly, though I did actually quite love this exercise. And after the pod begins right now. I was worried about the Comment Mailbag because my voice, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
You got through it. I mean, I know that like when you do cocaine,
There
all
it
night, you
is.
got that
And
post-nasal
there it is. Go ahead.
It's just drip, drip, drip back your throat. It's just everything's just raw. I get it.
I
don't get it. I can't speak from personal experience. I can just tell you that like that's what I've heard or seen.
I too have heard that's what it's like. But what was I going to say? Shout out Vikram and Bernal, by the way, hosted an awesome barbecue. That's oh gosh, what's his? I forgot. Ridge, wear your helmet at. Ended up hosting a barbecue and it was awesome. Had a good time. Played some liar's dice at the end. Got home at like 3:30. It was a great 4th of July barbecue. Really, really fun time. So just shout
the co-eds, you bring the coke. I get it.
All right, cool. Hey, I got to give it to you. You're
Break party.
You're especially witty today, and I feel like I'm still waking up and just not able to respond.
Dude, I don't remember anything we've done this episode.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Let's talk about that, huh? How are you doing, K-Dot?
I feel like shit. It feel like I'm feeling worse.
Well, I mean, it takes a surprising amount of energy to actually do the episodes as well.
Well, the thing is, like, usually you talk about like our start time and everything this morning. Usually, I'm pretty fucking hyped. But no, I was smoking a cigarette like 2 minutes before this started, which probably not supposed to make me feel better. But fuck you guys if you're judging me for doing that.
Judgment free.
Well, this brings me to something else. So I was just thinking the other day. Smoking is still cool as shit.
Okay, walk me through that.
Smoking's just cool, man. Like, I'm sorry. It's like I know I'm a huge movie guy, and like I saw the movie The Bike Riders the other day. It was pretty damn good. Lack of story, but some good moments. Good acting.
Okay.
But there's just so many scenes of somebody lighting up a cigarette, and you're just like, yeah. Or you see like old videos like Marlon Brando or James Dean lighting cigarettes. It's fucking dope. My favorite show on TV is The Bear. You watch The Bear, all you want to do is eat fucking good food and smoke cigarettes because that's all they do. I get that for some people it's just a disgusting act and the smell and this, that, and the other. But I tell you, man, even going to Europe a couple years back, it was just like going anywhere and there's always an ashtray on the table ready for you. It's just cool.
Cool. Okay.
It's just cool.
So I think the aesthetic, I get what you mean from the aesthetic side of things. But like, do you think so there's a lot of vaping going on right now. Do you think it has to be a cigarette?
Yeah.
Has to be a cigarette.
Look, and I'm a person I've dabbled in vaping, but it ain't a cigarette.
Okay.
This is not me going out telling everybody.
But a vape is supposed to be I was talking to a friend the other day. So it's nicotine, is that right? In a vape?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And it's not, would it be comparable in terms of amount to a cigarette or what?
Depending on, you can get it at different nicotine concentrations.
Okay.
So depending on like how many packs of cigarettes you smoke a day can be directly correlated to what kind of nicotine level you want as far as your vape. So nowadays it's all the disposable ones, so that you just get a pick up at the gas station or whatever. When I lived out of Virginia was when the big like vape kits started coming together. So like I spent hundreds of dollars on these like really intricate pieces. You got tanks and coils you had to buy, and you're getting all this kind of vape juice stuff.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's why smoking's good.
Cigarettes are awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
But I will say this: when I was quitting smoking at one point, and I switched just to vaping, I could breathe better. I could smell things better. Things tasted better.
So it is supposed to be healthier.
It's a look. I can't vouch for that, especially back when I was doing it, because it was sort of the Wild Wild West. There were motherfuckers just making vape liquid in their basements. Okay. But I will say the way it made me feel was absolutely improvement over what it was that I was smoking cigarettes. But also during that period, I was at like 2.5 packs a day.
Okay. Well, so then in that case, I mean, yeah,
it was anything's improvement. But
yeah, exactly.
But now as I've definitely don't smoke as much as I used to.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, man, it's nothing like Not like after a good meal, just like, go outside for a second. Or if you're in France, you just light it right there at the table. Or you're, I'm sorry, but the one of the best post-coital events you can possibly have is the light up
I
that
don't
cigarette.
think you're sorry.
I'm not really.
Right.
It's just fucking dope, man. I'm sorry. It's cool. I still miss things smelling like cigarettes. I mean, I wasn't here for when you could smoke on a plane, but it's showing off like in the early 2000s.
That's right.
But in the early 2000s, when you would still fly around and it would have the ashtrays like in the seat, I was just sort of like, this was a better time. It's a better time.
So you don't agree with the general trajectory of life?
What do you mean?
That's being presented to us. So like, can't smoke on planes anymore. You were saying that was a better way back in the day. No.
So I'm all about personal freedom until it impacts or affects other people. Then your freedom needs to be curbed a bit, right?
Okay.
I understand what people say as far as secondhand smoke. I just challenge it. I think the secondhand smoke is not anywhere. You can't tell me that occasionally coming across somebody smoking a cigarette is so much worse than walking around a DC street with all the fucking smog and shit from cars and exhaust on you all fucking day, or rolling your windows down as you're driving down a fucking highway on a hot summer day. Fuck off. I don't think the one's significantly worse than the other. And yeah, I just think that I don't like that smokers have been sort of relegated to being this like, you dirty group. Although it still kind of keeps it cool. It's like, fuck you, counterculture.
Which is, I feel like that's you to a T.
It might be it. But like, I can't, like,
I've been studying your takes and no, God.
I mean, if you're watching Mad Men and you don't want to fucking light up a goddamn cigarette and like drink a small, nice little sip of whiskey, what are you doing? It's good. It's good shit. It reminds me of the I might have said this on a pod or something at some point. I don't want to. I might fuck this quote up. But it was Johnny Carson, I think, late night host Johnny Carson.
Yeah, I do know Johnny Carson.
I knew a man who gave up loose women, cigarettes, and good food. He was healthy right up until the day he killed himself.
Yeah, that's right. I actually do know that quote.
That's my life right there, bud. Like, that's, I want to have fun while I'm here. And
it's a great quote.
It's a great quote. Like, and the other thing is, like, some of the people that I know that have lived absolutely the longest all smoke.
Well, I mean, there's also, it actually is, that lends itself to a very interesting health conversation that occurs, or at least one that I'm getting more interested in. So I've read a book called Healing Back Pain. I think I've told you about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I had back pain. So for those that don't know, I had back pain and knee pain for quite some time, and I love playing soccer. And so obviously when you have those two things, it's pretty debilitating. You are not able to do the things you want to when you're playing your sport of choice, right? And so it was very frustrating. And after reading the book, 2 to 3 weeks later, my pain was gone. Just reading the book. I didn't do anything else. I just read the book and I played. And it disappeared. And the author, Dr. John Sarno, was making the point that one of the, or maybe the cause of your back pain and knee pain could be emotional repression. And that was a really interesting concept because I was always, well, it's a physical issue, so therefore it's a physical problem.
Right.
Well, what if it's mental? And so he had done some studies on MRIs of totally healthy people on their knees and their backs, specifically their backs. And he would see these bulged discs, these herniated discs, and conditions in which he would operate on the back. He's like, but they're feeling no pain. Why is that? Right. And so that's how he ended up getting into this, and noticed that it helped when he told people, just go back here. This is something called TMS, tension myositis syndrome. So you should be good to go play. So to your point of people maybe smoking and then they were healthy and live long lives. And then what does Warren Buffett have? I feel like, doesn't he also just like, I don't know if he was the one that has a Coke at McDonald's every day, or if I forgot what.
He goes to McDonald's like every day. Like,
yeah, there you go. But what you hear about it, right, is like, yeah, don't. It's terrible for you. But Warren seems to be doing just fine, right? Like, it's health is a lot more complex than just one or two things.
No doubt.
To your point.
Yeah, like I'm unhealthy. Smoking does not help me be more healthy, but I still like doing it. And like if I could fix everything else and hold on to the cigarettes, I'd absolutely do that. Yeah, but I mean, I go through phases. Like just from a cigarette standpoint, it does make smoking cigarettes does make other things harder to do. No doubt.
Well, that's fair. Right. If I smoked and then played soccer and I wasn't playing as well, that's not emotional repression. I'm smoking a fucking cigarette over and over again. I'm
Right.
coughing more. Like, so there's some stuff that directly impacts, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. It's like you can read a book on back pain and then proceed to take cocaine baths where you're just rubbing that good white Bolivian numbing agent all over your body, and then you feel great. I get it.
If you
I
are
would
going
think
to knock
cigarettes is
chapter
still-
3 of that book, then I don't
Just
know what
saying.
to tell you.
I'm just saying, I still think cigarettes better advice than Coke, but I also think cigarettes might be a better advice than fucking caffeine or sugar. Yeah, but definitely better than Coke.
Well, on that note, we'll go ahead and take off. But appreciate you guys as always, and we will see you next Friday, 2 p.m. as always. And hey, look out for the Wizards in Summer League. Pretty exciting time. I mean, not just the Commanders, but the Wizards also finally blew it up. Finally have a young group. Let's see if they can develop. Exciting times to be a Wizards fan too, as well. So until then,
I don't know if I told you this officially. I'm now a Orioles fan.
I don't know that you did tell me that officially. No.
And I wish Baltimore had a basketball team. Bye, everybody.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.